Welcome everyone, this is Thomas from TradeWin, and today we will review a 15-year unique study about daily high and lows for 28 different quotes. So I had the idea to make this study because I saw a post on X telling that there was kind of daily accumulation, manipulation as distribution model from ICT. If you're not familiar with the Power of 3 or AMD model, I recommend you checking this on YouTube. There are plenty of videos explaining what AMD is. So I wanted just to check if this is true, that we might see during Asia session accumulation, during London manipulation, and then distribution during New York session. I also answered other questions that came while I was working. So, is there a statistical bias on the times daily high and low form, or it is purely random? I already talked about AMD. And how often are daily high and lows formed within each session? And how often are daily high and low formed within the same session? There are different questions and I will answer to them in this video. If that still interests you, you can keep watching. First, I will make a quick recall on what TradeWin is. You might hear this for the first time. Then I will define what I studied. I will answer the question concerning AMD, and then we'll give other stats. Let's begin with what TradeWin is. I made a whole video about that, so that's pretty clear. The idea is in fact to backtest any trading strategy. So the idea is to choose a core strategy, translate it into code, run simulations, changing the parameters as I want, and then assess the results with some stats. So this is what TradeWin is about. TradeWin is gaining traction over there because it allows you to backtest like 20 years in a record time on plenty of quotes, changing a lot of parameters. And even if you wanted to do that manually, you would never will be able to do that. It's too time consuming. So if you prefer a visual representation on how TradeWin is awesome, this is my favorite meme. TradeWin gives you insights. So these are the kind of insights you could get from TradeWin for any strategy variation you want to backtest for any quote for at least 15 years. You will have the win rate, the gain-loss ratio, the max losing streaks, all the trade opportunities and all the details about each trade taken by TradeWin during the hundreds of simulations performed, the average gain per transaction, and the total profits. So, to come back to the study concerning the daily high and lows, the idea was to test the following quotes. So I have gathered them in different groups. We recognize on the left the main Forex pairs, the US future on the right with other quotes, some crypto, metals, and crude oil for energy. So this is what the study is about. For purpose of being really clear about what I call a session, I decided in this study to define the sessions like you see in the bottom of the screen with the, I would say, the version 2. I decided that there will be no overlapping between each session. So we can strictly find what is Asia session, what is London session, and what is New York session. So we understand that this might have a kind of incidence on the results, as London and New York share like 4 hours during the day, but I want to make this no overlapping definition of sessions. So this is what the study defines as sessions. In New York time, this means that from 19 to 3 a.m. we have the Asia session, London from 3 o'clock to 8 o'clock, and New York session from 8 to 16 New York time. Perfect. Next step is the daily power of 3 or AMD. Is this a myth or a reality? Quick recall on what is it. The idea is that behind this concept that every time price action moves sharply in one direction, before doing that, it goes in the opposite side. That's called the manipulation of the cycle. And before this manipulation, we have accumulation. Whenever you have this at every time frame, the idea is that price accumulates, gets manipulated between quotes, meaning that it moves in the direction but not for long, just to trick everyone in there, and then distributes to the opposite side. So this is the image for a bearish distribution. So, is the AMD proven or not? The answer is no. So from the statistics I've run, from the backtests I run, this is the conclusion. The daily AMD hypothesis is that during the Asia time, from 19 to 3 AM, we have accumulation. Then during London, manipulation. Then during New York, distribution. This means that for any day, London either makes the high or the low of the day, and after that, New York makes, in consequence, either the low or the high of the day. That's what it means. In this example here, this would mean that London makes the high of the day and New York makes the low of the day. So that's exactly what I try to explain here. So we already saw the bearish candle and it works exactly the same way to the upside. London makes the low and New York makes the high. That's what the daily AMD is about. So to prove what I'm saying, I run that on the 28 quotes. Here we have the results of the study I made on at least 15 years, depending on the underlying, the quotes, but at least 15 years. And it shows that AMD, the daily AMD hypothesis described just before in the previous slide, is at most validated at 13%. That's all. And it works at 30 for Euro GPB. That's all. So I will let you discover this. You can go back to this later on. But the conclusion, as I said, is that the daily AMD is not a proven edge on the 28 quotes I run for at least 15 years, from 15 to 20. That's the first huge conclusion of this study. So every time we'll see on X or everywhere else that daily AMD works, the answer is okay, maybe, but at most at 30% for some specific pairs. And if we go back and have a look at the US futures, for example, it's only one chance out of 5, at most 20%. That's all. AMD is not a proven edge on the daily basis. Next section is about the key takeaways of the study. The first question I want to answer with you is how often are the daily high and low set during the same session? Okay? The answer is not very often, I would say. On most forex pairs and other underlyings, we have a peak at around 10% for crypto, but that's all. So it doesn't often happen for the Asia session. For the London session, we also have a really low probability of seeing the high and the low of the day formed, with at most 4%. And if you have a look at the US future on the right, you can see that it's almost zero. And the New York session, to finish that, we see that US futures during the New York session have quite a huge probability, to make at the same time the high and the low of the day. So this comes with the belief that New York is much more volatile, there is much more movement during the New York session than the other sessions. Here we have percentages that go to 30%. On the other sessions, we barely reach 4%. So that was the first question answered. How often are the daily high and low set during the same session? Second question, how often is the daily high or low set during a specific session? Which means, how often is either Asia, London or New York forming the high or the low of the day? If we have a look at the Asia session, we can see that crypto here absolutely beat everything with 80% chance of seeing a high or a low during this time. For the rest is like between 40 and 60%. So we are right in the middle, I would say. 50% chance to see Asia session make a low or a high of the day. London, we are strictly below that 50% range that was previously defined for Asia. For London, we have at most 50%, but we see that among Forex, we are more around 30, 45. And for US future, we are around 25%. So this confirms the fact that because of the low volume of US futures during London session, we have, I will say, low probability to have the high or the low set during the London session for US futures. And finally, the astonishing result, but expected, was that during the New York session, anything can happen. On the right, again, on US futures, we have nearly 90% chance to see an extreme level of the day, either the high, either the low. And as we saw in the first section of this study, only a 30% chance to have the opposite level defined during London session, which is the AMD, the daily AMD hypothesis. And this confirms the fact that New York session is the most active where extreme levels of the day formed. Okay, I hope you liked the different stats I presented. And to prove you that this is clear and I effectively backtested all this, I'm going to prove that to you right now. And so I'm quitting the presentation and we'll have a look at TradingView if you wish. The idea for me is to go to my database and find any kind of result. So I don't know, I talked about US futures, so we'll take something else. I don't care. Crude oil. Let's choose crude oil. So for crude oil, for any date since 2007, you have here April 2007, I have defined the daily low. When does this happen? So for example, on this day, it happens at 10, which is during the New York session. And when is the high, the daily high reached? At what time? And what is the session? When you don't have anything in the square, that means that the high or the low has been made between 16 in the afternoon and 19, between 16 and 19. And if you recall my session definition. I'm going back to it. You witness that we have nothing, no session here for 3 hours. Okay? But this doesn't happen often. So it doesn't impact the overall statistics. So in order to prove you that this is not bullshit data, we go backwards and we'll find a date and we'll check this on TradingView. Let's take the 1010. Easy to find. October 10th, 2023. I said I was taking crude oil on October. Everything is fine. This is a new tab, so you don't see what I'm watching. And I want the daily time frame. No, I want the hour is enough. And I will dezoom that to go back to October 10. I said, okay, TradingView is coming September, October 10. Here I am. I'm zooming. I'm doing this live. Sorry, it's longer, but to prove you, I'm not bullshitting my results. Here we are. The 10. We accepted the cookie. The 10. Welcome to the 10. From the 10, October 10. Perfect. So let's define the sessions. Session, we say, starts at 19 here. So here where we start, and we said that we finish the 10 at 16. Okay, so what are the daily high and lows between here? We have here the high and here the low. When are they reached? So I'm going on the left. It tells me that the low is at 85.12. 85, oh yeah, 85.12. I'm here. Reached during the 10 a.m. New York session, and we can strictly see at the bottom of the screen that that's reached at this time, and that the high is 86.74. 86.74. We are here. Reach at 4 a.m. during the London session. No, up 4 a.m. London session. So that was a quick example to show you that I'm logging all the data, and I mean, I verified that. So it's working. Awesome. I'm coming back to the presentation, and I'm doing a special part because I asked on X who wants me to answer any question concerning high and lows for this study. I got only 2 answers. The first one I answered in the previous slide concerning when occurred high and lows for each session. That was the resonant trader who asked. And here I had another question from JP. So I'm taking 1 minute to answer it. The question was, during London on Nasdaq, if Asia low or high is purged, is taken, what is the chance the opposite level, so the opposite Asia extreme level, is taken before 8:30 a.m. So I translated that for the symbol NQ, the Nasdaq futures. If London takes Asia high, what is the chance Asia low being taken before 8:30? And the opposite, if London takes the Asia low, what is the chance Asia high is taken before 8:30? So I run the test, and the answer is 21%. So from 2007, we have here nearly 15 years, more than 3,000 backtested days. We only have this hypothesis confirmed 21% of the time. I will give you additional results by DM. So that's all. I was expecting more answers because, so now you know when I'm calling for free reviews. I would hope you will jump into the occasion next time, because you will never be able to do that on your own. That's why TradeWin is awesome. That's all for this video. Thank you for coming. This was the first free review I'm doing. I will also publish another video about the TTrades cyber bullet strategy. I only made a first video presenting the methodology. I will make the next video about it to share to anyone the results of this study. So next step for TradeWin is continuing to gain traction, continuing to offer my backtest services. Remember, you will never be able to backtest the strategies you are dealing with manually with all the variations you wish to know more about. So come back to me. I can do this for you. And on the long term, the idea for me is to build a database gathering all the results of the TradeWin backtest conducted, and to sell the access to this database via a subscription. And I believe that will help a lot traders out there. So thank you for coming. Don't hesitate to come back to me if you have any questions. I remain available for anything. And remember, it's time to backtest. Goodbye.